In my younger days, my mind was locked in hell. I had to crawl out the pit to break the spell. Predictive programming prior to the disaster. Psychological war from the new age slave master. People become so empty and blind, self-content into their everyday grind. Like, who gives a fuck about you long as I get mine, even if I have to eclipse your shine? Gimme, take and take. Wherever there's lies, you see a Masonic hand shake, monopolizing on us so we can barely get by. You're deafened to the truth and lies cloud your mind. The TV is a weapon, hypnotizing the masses. 5G and smart grid is controlling your actions, creating the problem, then they deliver the solution, profiting off both ends while we fall for the illusion. It's written we are united under the Constitution. I never felt more divided from racism's evolution. What's good, everybody? Today I'm going to be talking about the Slavs. It's pre-Christian times. Pre-Christian, pre-Catholic, pre-religion times. What many people don't know is a lot of lands worship Mother Earth because they know if they took care of Mother Earth would take care of them. Pre-religion times. These are pre-religion times. So my great-great-grandparents came here in 1890s to escape the turmoil that was going on. They wanted a better life. So they came here. I think they touched down in New York, my grandpa was saying, and then they moved up to Connecticut. But I've always been interested in my roots, and I never could really ask questions because my grandfather had passed away years ago, and in those days I wasn't really mature and into what I'm into today. So I didn't have the questions then to ask. So all I can do is go by my grandfather's word, what I know in my research. And what I found is real interesting, and to find out that there was pre-religion when people worship Mother Earth. It was so interesting to find this stuff out. So as we go along in this video, we're going to learn more about the Slavs. So in this video, I'm going to get a lot into the different deities. I'm going to get into how the religion came and took over the pagan, what they call pagan worship, which is pre-Christian. I'm just going to say pre-religion times. How the cardinals and the popes and all that. 3 different stages I'm going to talk about and how that happened. And then I'm going to talk also about, my great-grandparents were Polish and German, and my father's side was Italian and a little bit of Lithuanian. So I'm just digging deep into my roots, man, and, really finding out my true self. So there's stuff I already know, and there's stuff I don't know. We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff, and we're going to talk about Mother Earth, Matka, Sarah, Ziema. We're going to talk about a lot of other deities. We're going to get into some beautiful stuff, and we're also going to get into some stuff that isn't so beautiful, like the conquering of the lands. So let's begin, people. So we're going to start with pre-Christian Poland. But this is Slavic also. Pre-Christian Slavs, spiritual Slavs. All right, this is the pre-Christian times. Before Christianity, Slavs worshipped the Great Mother, or the Great Goddess, represented by the bird, bee, or snake goddess type concept. Then with the influence of the Indo-European people, it was by the Mother Earth. Matka, Sarah, Ziemia. Their year was separated into 2 main parts. Yule to the summer was ruled by the white god, Beelzebub. Beelzebub, the white god of the waxing year, guardian of the summer. The story is Beelzebub would defeat his brother, Coliata or Coliato, to take his spot as ruler of the waxing year. Then from the summer to Yule was ruled by the black goddess Charnobog. Kupala is the goddess of herbs, sorcery, sex, and midsummer. She is also the water mother, associated with trees, herbs, and flowers. Her celebration falls on the summer solstice. It was sacred, a holy day honoring the two most important elements, fire and water. Kupalo is the male form of Kupala and is recognized in other Slavic regions. Kupalo is associated as Saint John, and the feast day is June 24th. Sorry if you hear noise in the background, man. I have the most craziest neighbors. I got like 24 other apartments in my building, so let me just say, if you hear noise in the background, I'm sorry. There's really nothing I can do. But let's push on. Zarnobog, the black god of the warning year. This particular god is of one source of inspiration for the music of Mussorskis, meaning the night on the bald mountain, as he's portrayed as the black god of evil, woe, and grief. He is also known as the god of chaos and night, the god of the dead. So they celebrated this in open air. The Slavs celebrated not in a church, but in outdoors, in the open air, around trees that were particularly old or had odd or special importance. Prayers were offered in wooded groves at the base of giant boulders. See, public ritual, celebrations, feasts, prophecies, and offerings accompanied all rites. In Poland, it was a custom to raise their hand towards the sun when they swore an oath. People greeted the rise of the sun with a deep bow and a special prayer every morning. The Polish term for God is Bóg, or Bog, Bogini. Loosely it translates out to noble, and it's an Iranian derivation according to linguistic sources. So in my other video, when I spoke of deep roots and watered down culture, this is what I meant. My watered down roots and my deep roots and watered down culture. And I see parallels in other people's deep roots and watered down culture. I see a lot of parallels. But for centuries Poland was notably a monofaith Catholic nation. From the time of Mieszko the First was baptized in 966. It almost looks like 3 sixes. Through the period when Poland grew to become the largest empire in Europe. I think that must have been a problem for some people, that Poland was the largest empire in Europe. The church was the unifying power. It had a huge influence on the development of Polish culture. The golden age of Catholicism happened in 3 stages or eras. First was during the partitions, when for 123 years Poland was virtually wiped off the map. Second came when the Nazi occupation, and then the period of the Soviet domination. And he said the third was when the Cardinal Kirill Wojtyła was elected Pope in 1978 and lasted until Poland was a so-called free country in 89. I think that was when, I'm going to look it up to check it, but I think in 89 is when the Berlin Wall fell and they became free from the USSR. So I'm only going to talk briefly about these 3 steps. I'm going to save it more for another video. I just really want to focus more on pre-Christian, or what they call pagan, the myths, the mythology. So let's get back into some mythology before Christian and Catholic I say before, but a lot of this stuff even sounds like a religion in itself. So let's keep pushing on. The Slavs ended up, you know, the Prince of Poland there, Mieszko, was baptized along with the country, but it didn't happen overnight. It took time, but eventually paganism or pre-Christian was no more. They converted it all into a Catholic and Christian religion, but Slavs were panentheistic and animistic. Animistic means the belief that natural objects, natural phenomena, and the universe itself possesses souls. The belief that the natural objects have souls that may exist apart from their material bodies. The doctrine that soul is the principle of life and health. The belief in spiritual beings. So that's what animistic is. Slavs believe everything is alive and was imbued with a separate spirit. Trees, rocks, and animals are far older than man. Their spirits were considered wiser, so they would seek them for advice or aid. The separate spirits seem to have convinced Christians that there was a pantheon extant, similar to Greece and Rome. In fact, beliefs were more nature-based and intimate. Slavs worshipped in groves and circles rather than church and temples. Slavs also had beliefs in fairies, changelings, vampires, and shapeshifters. Slavs also taught that we would be reincarnated, stating that new souls were never born. Oh no, new souls were ever born, sorry. They honored their ancestors. Every home had a shrine for their ancestors. Twice yearly at spring and fall, which is Subang. I'm going to put that word up as I always do. Zaduski is celebrated. It's a festival celebrating and honoring the dead, like All Souls Day. The soul, they said, existed separate from the body. They also accepted astral projection and dream travel as a fact. In the year following CE, meaning common or current era, it seems people started to worship in the manner of the civilization. It seems that the spirits Slavs would worship and honor were anthropomorphized. Anthropomorphized, meaning to attribute human characteristics or behavior to gods and animals. They were given those statues and temples in their honor. Before the Slavs celebrated overlapping seasons marked by Sabbaths, throughout the ages, all the way up till today, the Slavs have a religious concept called the double faith, where they mix the Christian or Catholic beliefs with pagan worship. The Slavic families would knock on trees on the Yule to awaken the slumbering spirits. Slavs are organized as exogamous clans based on marriages outside the blood relationship, more properly as Sibs, groups of lineages with common ancestry. Since marriage did not cancel membership into the clan or tribe of one's birth, the elected chief didn't have executive powers. The world had been created in a Slavic view, once and for all, and no new laws ought to modify the way of life transmitted by their ancestors. So now I want to get into these three sisters, the Zayas sisters. When I seen this mythology or this story, it was real interesting. It consists from older Slavic mythology. Zoya, there's three Zoya sisters, right? But two are mostly talked about. The third one is talked about here and there in different myths, but there's the main two sisters, which are the morning star and the evening star. The third sister appears in some stories as the midnight star. And these stories are much older than Dazbog, the Polish. Dazbog, I think, is the Polish, god. I'm also put him up too, because I think Dazbog was their father, if I'm not mistaken. The two goddesses known as the Auroras, like the Aurora Borealis, they guard and watch over the winged doomsday hound, or what they call a griffin, or griffon, or a simorgul. I can't say that word, but this beast, this hound, is chained to the star Polaris in the constellation Ursul Minor, which is Little Bear. If the chains ever broke, the hound will destroy the constellation and the universe will end. The Zoyas serve the sun god Dazbog. In some myths, that's their father. I was right. So, reading here, it says, the home of the Zoyas was sometimes said to be on Buyan, an oceanic island paradise where the sun dwelt along with his attendants, the north, south, east, and west winds. The morning star is Zorya Uchanyaya. I can't say their name, but I will be posting their names above. She opens the gates of Dazbog's palace each morning so that the sun may begin his journey. She also, the patroness of horses, protection, exorcism, and the planet Venus, Slavs would pray to her every morning as the sun rose. They are consistent accounts of her marital situation. Some myths, she is described as the wife of Perun, and I'm also put pictures of Perun up too, and would accompany her husband into battle. In this role, she would protect the warriors she founded against death by laying down her veil. In other myths, the Zoya sisters were wives of the male moon god Miesiets. I'll also put that name up. I'm probably saying that very wrong. But yeah, the Zoya sisters in this myth were wives of the male moon god Miesiets, and by him bore all stars. So they gave birth to all the stars when they, intermingled with the moon god. Other stories say the Zoya sisters are virgin goddesses, while describing that moon god Miets as a unrelated moon god. So there's many different variations of this story, versions. So the evening star is Zorya V. So we'll say the evening star is Zorya V. She closes the palace gates at dusk, after sunset when Dawsbog returns to the palace. She's associated with the planet star or star Venus or Mercury. There is sometimes a midnight star called Zorya P. She was created later on in some of the stories, but rarely shows up. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I added a lot of deities and stuff that's supposed to be pre-Christian, but at the end of all this, I've realized that, even though they worship Mother Earth, these religions manifested these deities into saints and all that stuff. But it's still very interesting because it's my roots and I'm learning more and more. And I will be making another video because there's just so much to add to this video right here alone. I could go for hours. But I try to make these videos, 20 minutes long, sometimes 15, because I could go for hours. So a lot of people don't like to sit there too much. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be making a part 2. There's so many deities, pre-Christian, pre-religion times that I could add. I could go, like I said, for hours. It's very interesting, the last story of the morning star and the evening star. I love that story. It's beautiful. I would like to get somebody that's from Poland. My roots are, but I'm not. I would love to hear their point of view because all this stuff's from the internet and, people could write whatever. I would like to hear it from somebody's mouth that lives in Poland, Russia, any of them Slavic countries over there. So thank you everyone for watching my videos, man. I really appreciate it. And until next time, be safe, keep your head up, and keep pushing forward, everybody. Peace out.